Donald Trump's Republican rivals for the White House have criticized him for failing to turn up to their latest TV debate. 7 candidates battled it out at the party's second presidential debate in California, but Trump chose not to attend. According to polls, the former president maintains a dominant lead over the rest of the field by a margin of more than 40 points. One of his rivals, Ron DeSantis, condemned him for failing to show up to the debate. He said the former president was missing in action.
Where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have now.
Well, another contender, Chris Christie, mockingly referred to him as Donald Duck.
Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Well, let's go live now to Julie Norman, co-director of the Centre on US Politics at University College London. Julie, thank you so much for joining us. Who would you say were the winners or losers of the debate this time around?
Sure. Well, as we've heard, without Trump on the stage, this is really a battle for second place. So some of the candidates last night certainly held their own. I think Nikki Haley, Tim Scott. But in reality, as was noted, Trump is very much the front runner in this race. And if anything, I think last night we saw a bit of desperation, a sort of brawl kind of atmosphere as all of these candidates really tried to maintain their relevance. As again, it's a pretty wide field still. They are splitting the non-Trump vote. And it's been very hard for any of them to really get traction, even get out of the single digits.
And how did they handle their perspectives, their views on the former president? Obviously, in the first debate, a lot of the candidates were hesitant to criticize him too harshly. How did they handle their views on Donald Trump last night?
Yeah, so as we heard, a bit more pointed attacks to Trump, especially for not being there in the room. We heard that from Chris Christie, who has been a very constant Trump critic, but as well as from DeSantis, who in the past has a bit stayed away from attacking Trump directly. I think he knows he needs to do that a bit more. But with that said, we didn't hear that much about attacks on Trump's record, about trying to differentiate candidates that much from Trump's background and what his first term in office looked like. We saw much more going at each other, much more pointed personal barbs, as well as real policy differences between those on stage as well. But I would say, despite all that, Trump is very much in the background, and all these candidates know it.
Exactly. He really was the focus of attention. He held a separate rally at around the same time that the debate was happening. What do you think his strategy is? If he's not attending these presidential debates, what does he want to do?
Yeah, so this is the second time that Trump has done this, where he's actually held a competing event or interview or speech while the debate is going on. And his strategy in this is two ways. One, he just sees himself as so far ahead in the polls that to take part in a debate could really not benefit him and only hurt him. But more, it's a Trump strategy to say, that's the kiddie table. I'm not even wasting my time with these other candidates and even engaging that and pretending that this is a real contest. And the flip side, what he, I think, is trying to do is already set this up as a race between him and Biden, a race for the White House, and almost leapfrog past the primaries. And so we saw that this week in Michigan with both Biden and Trump there trying to win the support of union voters in particular.
Now, looking at the field of 7 candidates, 7 of the other candidates, are any of them gaining momentum? Because after the first debate, Vivek Ramaswamy seemed to gain momentum and popularity. What do you think things will look like for them this evening?
Yeah, it's really difficult for this current crowd to get much of a boost. So we did see some strong performances in the last debate, especially as you noted, Ramaswamy, I think, came into the spotlight. But even with that, he didn't get a massive bump in the polls. He has struggled to get out of the single digits. And we've seen that with the other candidates as well, who have performed well, have in some ways managed to keep donors on board. But in terms of actually turning voters, actually changing the tides of the polls, right now Trump's grip has just been very strong. And so I don't expect we'll see that much more movement after this debate in particular, which probably did not get even as much viewership as the first. And again, the more brawl type atmosphere, I think many viewers who were maybe looking for a bit more substance probably wouldn't change their minds.
Thank you for that analysis, Julie. That was Julie Norman, co-director of the Centre on US Politics at University College London.